じゃあ今日はレオナルド・ダ・ヴィンチについて一緒に見ていきたいと思います。レオナルド・ダ・ヴィンチでございます。レオナルド・ダ・ヴィンチはですね、最後の晩餐で有名です。モナリザでも有名ですね。最後の晩餐とかモナリザとか、その他にもですね、いろんな絵を描いておりますが、やっぱりレオナルド・ダ・ヴィンチを代表するのはですね、最後の晩餐とモナリザかなと思います。他にもね、時代告知とか書いておりますが、レオナルド・ダ・ヴィンチの今回は最後の晩餐一緒に見ていきましょう。はい、それではレオナルド・ダ・ヴィンチラストサパーということでいきましょう。Leonardo's Last Supper is a masterpiece that changed forever the way of painting and imagining a religious episode. History has left us, unfortunately, a faint shadow of what once it was. With modern techniques of 3D reconstruction, the use of artificial intelligence, and the new work of digital restriction, it is today possible to have in the refectory of Santa Maria delle Grazie a virtual experience of how the masterpiece looked in the time of Leonardo and what the Milanese were lucky enough to see for the first time in 1498. With his studies, Leonardo was the precursor of the modern technologies of virtual reality. His perspective layout on his all-round pictures aimed to deceive spectators who, for the first time, found themselves immersed in another time and another place, a magnificent and dramatic virtual reality. はい、ということでね、このサンタマリア・ディレグラッツ修道院の食堂の壁画として描かれたんですけど、最後の晩餐ラストサバーを描かれたんですけど、こちらはですね、ミラノにあります。ミラノはですね、イタリアの北部の町ですね。ミラノの近くはですね、トリノとか、荒川静香さんがですね、荒川静香さんがフィギュアスケートで金メダルを取った町とかも比較的近いですね。トリノとかにまで行っちゃうとですね、フランスと結構国境の町なので、イタリアのミラノは結構、イタリアの陸の玄関口とも言われております。はい、イントロダクションということで、In the summer of 2022, I was in Santa Maria delle Grazie in Milano. I put on my virtual helmet and started the program with the new virtual reconstruction. Reconstruction っていうのは修復とかっていう意味です。Of the Last Supper in high definition. It was exciting to be in the place where Leonardo painted this majestic and epoch-making work. After 20 years, I have released a technological dream and traveled through time and space, find myself in Leonardo's era, with the painting as it was then. The atmosphere was magical and sliding. One of the first people I had tried out the software was director of the Cenacolo, Dr. Silva Zantani. I thank her for giving me the opportunity to listen to the Last Supper from live in silence. I knew it by heart after having studied it for decades, and there in Santa Maria delle Grazie, I even tried to relive it, as if in a time machine, as it was in 1498. Thanks to immersive virtual reality, it is an experience I called space perspectual virtual reality. The space my body was in was exactly the same simultaneous virtually. This exciting experience, unique and difficult to replicate, was partially impressive because I could also feel the Last Supper for the first time in silence. What leaves me bewildered and excited about being in the actual refectory in Santa Maria delle Grazie is the fact that one perspective is the large space in which the works present. The painting itself is one that everyone knows. It can also be admired in books and reproduction. But what is impossible except in the real place is to perceive the space around us by hearing voices, sound, and even footsteps have a special echo that makes us perceive the space and its culture. I try to reproduce the same sensation in the virtual space. Some software are made with Unreal Engine 5, the same software with which all video games and new special effects the Hollywood movies are made. Although the virtual sounds can be calculated and reproduced, the same echo as a real room. I realized that the sound of my footsteps and breathing were missing. Incredible but true. In the refectory room alone, I was able to close my eyes as I walked towards the masterpiece. I pieced the grudge and power of work with the addition of an unusual and yet fundamental sense. The story of my research of the VR Last Supper begins in 1999, when I took my degree in industrial design at Polytechnic of Milan with a multimedia illustration of Leonardo da Vinci. Since then, I have worked on Leonardo and his machines, to the point of creating in 2021 the Da Vinci Academy, which has as its aim the popularization and use of all modern technological means for the understanding of history and for the new digital revolution. I have presented my research at conferences in Milan and San Francisco. For this new work of the Last Supper, I have also used artificial intelligence, creating for the first time models with artistic fingerprints of Leonardo himself, the Da Vinci eye, for reconstruction that is scientifically correct and are linked to a particularly personal style. Leonardo, my point of reference, will never cease to surprise us, and as he had taught us, we must ourselves experiment with new technologies, risking making mistakes but never giving up. Only by using and dominating the technology can we improve the world with art and history to guide humanity that otherwise will be dominated by technology. はい、ということでね、最後の晩餐でございます。最後の晩餐はですね、いろんな画家によって書かれておりますし、いろんな時代によって書かれておりますが、レオナルド・ダ・ヴィンチの書いたのはですね、15世紀末、1195年から1498年に書かれておりまして、こちらはですね、中央にイエス・キリストがいらっしゃって、左右に6人ずつの弟子さん、合わせて12人のお弟子さんが書かれております。はい、行きましょう。The Last Supper. The first historical testimony about this work comes to us from Giorgio Vasari, writing in his Lives of the Artist in 1550. His description will be analyzed in detail so as to attempt the virtual reconstruction of the painting and to offer interesting consideration on some of the mysteries that are still surrounded. ですね、ここで出てくるですね、リコンストラクション、リコンストラクションとか、ペインティング、リコンストラクション、修復的なことをしてるってことが書かれてますね。はい。Leonardo then did the Last Supper in Milan for the Dominican friar at Santa Maria del Grazie, a most beautiful and world-class work in which he depicted the head of the Apostol with such majesty and beauty that he left the head of Christ unfinished. In this short initial declaration, as we would expect, the work is described as most beautiful and marvelous, as we are accustomed to judge it. But then, there is talk of imperfection. How was it possible that as early as 1550, in addition to glorifying the work, we find mention of some defect? Indeed, if we look today at the center of the work, we might well wonder at the ruined face of Christ. We cannot even tell whether his eyes are open or closed. One thing is certain, what we see today is not the Last Supper painted by Leonardo and depict the extent and perhaps final restoration carried out in 1999. It is very difficult to know how Vasari was able to observe the work that Leonardo had completed some years previously in 1498. はい、ということでね、ラストサパー最後の晩餐でございますが、こちらはですね、大きな修復がですね、20年かけて行われております。1978年からですね、20年かけて1998年までですね、かけて行われまして、この修復によってですね、全体的に明るい印象を持つ修復がなされております。というのもですね、この修復というのが後世のレオナルド・ダ・ヴィンチ以後ですね、後世の画家が修復、絵の具をですね、いろいろ塗っていったんですけど、その絵の具を剥がすというふうな作業をしたために全体的に明るくなっているんですね。どういうことかというと、絵の具というのはいろいろ塗り重ねていくと、どんどん全体的に黒に近づいていって色が暗くなっていきます。そういうふうな後世の画家のものを剥がしていったので、全体的に明るい印象の絵に仕上がっております。はい、サンタマリア・デ・レクダッツェね、この修道院の食堂、こちらも見ていきましょう。これはですね、第二次世界大戦の時に連合軍の爆撃にもあっている修道院なんですが、最後の晩餐の壁画については奇跡的に無事でした。はい、レオナルド・ダ・ヴィンチ lived aged 30 in Milan in 1482. He introduced himself to Duke Ludwig von the Primary as a military engineer, mentioning that in time of peace he could also produce art and sculpture. So basically, the only artistic project planned in Milan was the erected monument to Francesco Sforza, Ludwig's father. It was a coloss that was never finished. Initially, Leonardo had absolutely no idea that it was there he was to create his greatest pictorial work. The artist working for Ludovico in Milan was called after living for 10 years with Sforza to help with enlarging and improving the complex of Santa Maria del Grazie here. In fact, the Sforza wished to be buried and remembered for eternity. The new tribune of the church, for instance, was built to project by Bramante from 1492, and Leonardo was commissioned to paint a Last Supper in the refectory next to the cloister. So the Last Supper was not painted inside a church as many people expect, but in a more ordinary or domestic space, a large room 33 meters long, where the friars of the convent ate their meals. The convent had been built in 1463 for the Dominicans, and as years went by, it was enlarged and filled with works of art. In the refectory, apart from Leonardo's painting, there is on the opposite wall another masterpiece, a majestic Gloissines painted by Giovanni Donate Montofona. Santa Maria del Grazie became a genuine mausoleum for the Sforza family, who had their portrait and their coats of arms painted there, in the same room as the Last Supper. Leonardo, in fact, painted 3 large luneti that continued the work in the upper part, with the coats of arms and initials of the patrons written in large gilded letters. However, in the Last Supper, although already deteriorated, that became in later years the most important and famous part of the entire complex. はい。でね、イエス・キリストが中央に描かれております。でね、パンとかワインとか、パンがね、手のところ近くにね、パンとワインが描かれております。Details near the hand of Jesus. On the right, digital enhancement, high pass of the defects and deteriorated portions. On the facing page, left, detail with the figure of Jesus in its current stage. Light digital enhancement high pass of the defects and deteriorated portions. Most people consider The Last Supper a masterpiece, even though they have never seen it in person or seriously examined it in reproduction. It is a fact that this work is to be considered a masterpiece because thus it has been called and thus it has been written. But in reality, we know well that The Last Supper that has survived today is not comparable to the masterpiece when it was painted. It is perhaps irrelevant, and many might find it scandalous to call the work we before us horrible. Important art historians such as Giuseppe Bossi, who wrote one of the most ultimate books on the subject and who loved Leonardo, did not hesitate to use negative adjectives about the work visible in the 19th century, already deteriorated and released in clumsy fashion. We need to be objective and to admit that what we see today is a ruined work, but painting, although so deteriorated, is important and absolutely fascinating, also thanks to our understanding of other works by Leonardo. We can hypothesize what it would have looked like had its original condition remained unaltered. It is a magnificent ghost that allows us to imagine its past majesty. はい、ということでね、今いろいろ書いたんですけど、ちょっと今日はこのぐらいにしておきたいと思います。おやすみ。よいしょ。